You have entered into the black hole of real estate, a place for industry news, tips, and strategies. Once you enter into our vortex, even if you could leave, you're probably going to want to stick around. I'm your host, Ron Weiss-Sikarski, and you are now entering the black hole of real estate.
Welcome back. We are excited to be just about to the end of April 2021, and the year, well, it's just flying by right now. It was just 12 months ago where we were in lockdown mode, and today things are very different than they were at this time last year. So, what I want to talk to you is about the fact that we are 1/3 of the way through with closing results for real estate, working their way through the 2021 system. We have some more news about where those foreclosures are going to come from. And at the end, I want to talk to you about what's going on in this market and how you can actually be successful with no inventory out there. So, the first thing that we should be talking about right now is the home sales that are raging through this market. And this is not for the weak of heart right now, because if you're looking for a property right now, you probably feel like you're in a no-win situation, constantly staring at listings and racing to the next opportunity just to get in yet one more bidding war. And so, what we want to talk about is, how do you navigate that first of all, and then how do you overcome it? And there's two different things. Well, the first thing is when you're navigating in this market to find the right home, you need to focus on the search tool that is most effective and in real time. So if you're searching a variety of websites and you're hoping for different information, this is just like our market. There's really just one source to it. And you need the real-time information in order to overcome what's going on in the market. Now, what's going on in this market? Well, this year we had over 500 sales in our market. And if you compare to last year at the same, in the month of March of 2020 was 488, so about the same number of sales. The big difference is the median price in our market was 250 versus 310. This is the Daytona Beach area stats we're talking about. And when you looked at just last month, there was a little over 400 sales compared to the previous February, about 366. So those are the pre-COVID numbers when the market was raging forward and it was doing good. The big thing that's shaking out right now is the median sales price is up, but I've got some information for you about the pricing, which, based on the interest rates, you may be in a pretty good position, believe it or not, even though the prices have gotten really high. The other thing you're navigating is the inventory. You see, last year at this time, there was over 2,300 homes available. March of 2021, 1,170, so about half. I mean, literally half of the inventory, yet the sales are higher. And whilst people will say there's no inventory, the fact is, as long as we've got 1,100, 1,200, and we're selling 500, there's enough to go around. Now, will selection and variety be impeded a little bit? But these people they're still success. So we're having more sales with less inventory. It just means the supply is short right now. We've got 2 months worth of inventory as opposed to 4 months of inventory. That's what it really is telling us. More and more properties are coming on the market. They're just being consumed really fast. So how does that buyer in today's market feel? They feel like it's a faster pace. And as a real estate agent, it's never been easier to get somebody to sign their name on the dotted line, so to speak, to make an offer on a property. But it may never have been harder to actually get a home under contract because there's so much competition for it. And if the buyer is such that they want to stick their toe in the water and make an offer below asking, or ask for favors or concessions or long closing dates or something complicated, those offers are not too successful right now in the beginning. First few weeks of a listing is probably just going to get dismissed as the buyer waits for a cash offer, which ultimately keeps showing up. So as we navigate this market and we do that wash, rinse, and repeat, property comes on the market, everybody goes and looks at it, then a bunch of offers come in, and then it gets sold. We've been talking about that for a long time. That's not news. But navigating, understanding where the lifeblood of the market is right now, well, that heartbeat is new inventory coming on the market, finding its way. And yes, do properties sell quickly with multiple offers and above the asking? Of course. But the life cycle now is about 2-3 weeks, and then it's almost looked at as old inventory and like, well, why didn't it sell? And as the buyer is navigating the market, they're looking at these properties thinking, well, it didn't sell in 2 weeks, didn't get multiple offers. Hey, must be something wrong with it. It could be the marketing. Maybe it was terrible photography and it just got swiped over. Maybe the price was off. Maybe the lighting was bad. Maybe it was just off 1 degree and it was missed. And I've seen it where the very same home gets rebranded with a different price after 30 days and new pictures, and suddenly it's a hot ticket. And to find those opportunities in this market, that's where the savvy agents and savvy buyers are looking and say, hey, you know what? Am I going to keep beating my head against the wall on the first day here, or am I going to approach this just a little bit differently and look for the opportunity? So what's interesting to me is people think, yeah, I'll get a better deal if I wait a month. Well, not so fast. There's a reason that it didn't sell in the first month, and I would argue that price and value were not in alignment. Guess what? Because otherwise it would have sold. So if you feel like you want to get a break on the listing price, yeah, sure, wait a month. Get 5 or 10% below that listing price. But understand that you're just getting market value a month later because it was overpriced. You're not saving anything. They priced it too high, and you're perceiving a percent off the listing price as savings of value when really you're just paying market price for it. And I hope that sinks in with you. So understand that sometimes the listing price is a great price. And as evidence, sometimes the listing price is actually a deal, especially when you see buyers paying $5, $10, $20,000 more than a listing price in the first 24 hours. Sometimes the listing price is a deal. The word lowball comes in all the time. I think that's just not understanding where the market is right now. And the market is red hot. And there's a lot of cash and there's low interest rates, and those things are contributing to it. We're not in 2008. There's not exotic mortgages. There's not these, hey, I've got a pulse. I can fog a mirror. I could do a liar loan. I can just state my income. It's not that. That's not what's driving this. The demand is to come to Florida. It's to come to an area with lower taxation. If you want to talk about red states and blue states, go ahead. That's probably a different podcast. But I know there's an appetite to come to Florida for a lot of the things that have taken place in the last year, and that does not change. So it's driving prices up. And when you think about people coming from, let's just say, other markets, our median sales price right now is around 300. That could change a little bit, but last year was 250. But when you're coming from a market that's 3, 4, 5, 600,000, the difference between paying 3 and 310 is negligible because it's quite a bit less than their market that they're moving from. That is a perception of value. And if you can get a really nice house in a different city where it's more favorable to what you want to do in life, then that little bit extra in the Florida market pales in comparison to being unhappy and having a $600,000 house in a different market. And this is what's driving the market, the perception of value. A lot of people are demonstrating they'd just rather be in Florida, particularly in our market. So, what's the next step with that? What is the next thing? Well, we're coming into what's traditionally a very busy season. May, June, July, even into August. These are the months typically when people are changing for things like school years. And by the way, with vaccinations out and mask laws mandates being rescinded, there's a feeling that, hey, we're getting back to normal. I think travel is going to be big this year. I think people are ready to move. And once again, what didn't happen last year was people moving because of the school districts and those changes. And now that's a thing again, as more of the kids are going from the online schools and the homeschools back into the mainstream schools. We're going to see jockeying for positions to get in those particular schools. That's going to continue. So that will add energy to this market. By the way, that's where some of these listings are going to come from. So when you think about where the listing's coming from, well, this energy to make the next move is our next thing. So inventory is on the way. And for the buyers that are worried about finding the next place, what we're finding is that once they make that commitment to move, they eventually find the right property. And is it a tight squeeze? Sure. But it's always been a tight squeeze. When you put your house on the market and it finally sells and you need to close in 30 or 45 days, you've traditionally had like a week to go find a property. So nothing has really changed there. It just feels different because of the environment and the stress we've been under, for the effects of things like COVID and anything else you've experienced, personally in the last year. And for that matter, if COVID wasn't there, people still have hardships and desires to move and reasons to move. It's just one layer that changed in the last year, and I think that's why the market really didn't stop at all. The desire to move was far stronger than the fear of anything that we've seen with health crisis in the last year. What are some of the strategies that we can talk about right now that would make this market better for a consumer that's worried about, paying too much? That is one of the two biggest fears of any buyer, paying too much and missing the house that they truly, truly loved. Those are the two biggest fears. Well, we've talked about this a little bit, but I'll say it again. Interest rates are going to go below 3% this week. It's all over the internet. Must be true. When you look at last year when the median sales price was about $250 and the rates were 4%, and you look at the monthly payment for that, and you compare it to this year with the rates about 3% or lower and $275 for a median price, it's about $30 cheaper to buy this year, even though the price is up 25 grand. Let that sink in. Price up 25,000, yet the mortgage payment is down about $35. Over the life of the loan, it's a $12,000 to $15,000 savings. So when you're making an offer on a property 5 or 10 above the list price, you still got enough left for a cruise because those are going to open up soon. You'll go on cruise lines and buy a house this year. The cost of the money is the key in here. And the Fed said that we're not likely to see interest rates increase in 2021. So those rates are going to be here for a while. Now, the Fed is doing a pretty good job here of easing us through this housing, perceived shortage right now. And what this tells me is that we're not going to see a quick spike in interest rates. It means the purchasing power will be there. And what we're doing is in the underpinnings of keeping home values stable and not retracing and not going down, because the time cost of money is going to make it so that you can have a higher sales price this year and pay the same payment and have the same purchasing power. So right now, they're doing a much better job than perhaps 10 or 15 years ago when we had a financial crisis. Now, if you're waiting for the foreclosures to hit the market, guys, I'm just here to tell you, the forbearance forgiveness periods, they're probably coming to an end in the next month or two, probably. But even with that, let's suppose that somebody didn't catch up or didn't have a good workout program. With that, it would still be months before that property ever actually got foreclosed on. It wouldn't happen overnight. Hey, your forbearance is over. You didn't pay us. You're out. It's not that. Not going to be that. It could be 3, 6, 9 months of procedural things. And in this market, prices have gone up. So the vast majority of the homes that are in forbearance right now could be sold at a profit, which is 100% different than what we saw back in 2008, 9, 10, and 11. Those homes were absolutely underwater, and they could not sell them at a profit. They would have to bring money to the closing table. In this market, the prices have gone up in such a way that most of these homes that are in forbearance, the owners could sell them, pay off the loan, put some money in their pocket, and move on to the next house. So when you think of it that way, does anybody really think there's going to be foreclosures or many of them? And if they are, you know who bought all the last round of them? It was the banks and the hedge funds. Guess what they're lined up to do? They're going to buy them again. And these big consortiums, since they helped bail out the banks years ago and bought up all of these things, don't you think there's an ease of doing business there? And by the way, some of these big hedge funds, guess who's in them? Bankers. I'm not saying they're cooking the books, but what I am saying is it's not likely that many properties make it to the foreclosure route. And if they do, I think they're going to get scooped up before the consumer ever sees them. So if you're waiting patiently for foreclosures, I'm glad you're being patient about it, because I don't think it's coming. I don't see a way that this market really falters in 2021. And it continues to grow and surge forward because of demand for certain pockets of areas. There's a ton of money out there right now. All the stimulus is out there. We're in some sort of recovery right now. Will there be some peaks and valleys? Maybe. But I'm not waiting around for it. I know I bought another property last month, and as much as people think the sky is going to fall and prices are dropping, I'm a buyer in this market. and I am not lacking for confidence. So my investor clients are buying, I'm personally buying, and we're feeling good about the market. And hey, even if it did retrace a little bit, our time horizons are long enough that it probably is going to matter. If you're trying to flip a house and time the market, that might be a little bit dangerous, but that would be dangerous in any market, not just this one. And if anything, right now with the inventory shortage, you stand a far better chance of getting yourself out of a flip right now than at a time when nobody's buying anything. And I hope that helps you out. So if you're looking, keep looking. Your tip of the day, if your agent is telling you there's no listings and you're not finding any listings, you're looking in the wrong place. Look at the ones that are under contract. Find out if any of those contracts are in jeopardy. And you can save the day. If a property is about to fall out of contract and the seller's made some plans to get moving to someplace else, that's your chance to swoop in there and grab that property before it ever gets back in the market. So don't overlook the ones that are under contract because not every deal closes. Hope you guys are having a great start to the year. I know that we are, and we're super excited for everything that's in front of us right now, and I can't wait for May. This is Ron Wysokarski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.